Well. Hello, everybody. Welcome to, well, that's not it. Welcome to Rearview Gaming. Now, Gabbin' and Games has not gone anywhere. That's still the weekly show, or the show we do 2 or 3 times a week. This is a new format I want to test for a weekly show. I want to tell you why I'm doing it and what it is, and then we'll jump right in. Before I do, the first song you heard is Alex Plock's new song from his EP Monarch. Actually, that's not true. His EP is called Haddle Rain, or Haddle Rain. That just dropped over on YouTube. There'll be YouTube. There'll be links going up and down for this song pretty soon. You'll see it in the next 5-10 minutes. And then, but that song is also, it's called Monarch, and it's off the soundtrack for the game Monarch by our very own Rob the Mod, which is kind of a cross between Blade Runner and Twilight Zone, and it is a boomer shooter. I don't know when it's going to be out, but what I've seen of it so far looks pretty goddamn good. And then after that, you heard a band called Unrivaled, who are from the bloody mean streets of Cincinnati, Ohio, with their Halloween-themed rock EP called Ghost Stories, that has tracks like On a Dark and Stormy Night, Terror Time, which you just heard. My favorite one is called Fiction. They say it's rock. I kind of say it's pop punk, but whatever it is, I love it. You can find it. In fact, there's a little, whatever the fuck the thing. It's going up the chat. It'll be in there all day long, and you can find it also underneath this video. So what is this show? What is Rearview Gaming? Well, I started to think, I have this podcast. It's very hard to keep the podcast updated with proper Gabbin' and Game shows because those shows are so all over the place, and they just, and that's what's fun about them, but they just ping pong and pinball all around with people calling in at different times, different subjects. And I don't like, unless I can spend like a day and a half editing it within an inch of its life, I don't like that going out as audio, because I just don't think it represents well when you're not actually sort of watching it visually. Obviously, how else would you watch it, you fucking moron? Or understanding kind of the kind of show it is. But to put something on in your car and drive, it doesn't really work. So I wanted to think about a weekly show that I could do, obviously, once a week. I swear to God, I'm not high anymore. But that's this show. That is Rearview Gaming. What it is we'll record it every Saturday or Sunday. Chat will still be involved, but the only chats that I will take, other than super chats and phone calls, will be things that are relevant to the topic. So if you're just like, dude, I want to talk about this, we can do that on the normal show, or we can do that at the end of this show. But this show is basically to catch people up on, or dive deeper into the week's gaming news that we just had, and then look forward to some of the cool geeky gaming shit that's happening very soon. So that's the idea. The format is we're going to look at the top 10 stories of the week, starting with number 10. We'll race through the first 5, then we'll do the top 5 slower, and then after that, of course, we'll look about what's coming out next week, and we'll talk about what I call 3 geeky gifts, which is, I'll tell you what that is at the end when we get there. So there you go. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Let's give this a shot. At the end, please let me know what you think, or if you're watching this on the YouTubes, let me know. It's like, I don't want to see a show like that again. Fuck you, Jaffe. I hate it. Or it's like, you know what? That show makes me moist. I'll take more of those, please. You guys let me know. But here's how we're going to do it. We're starting with the top 10. Now, I'd like to think I got it right. You tell me if I got it wrong. But these are in order of importance and seismic shifts to the video gaming hobby and industry we all love so much. This is number 10. Number 10 is Overwatch name change. Jesse McCree becomes Cole Cassidy this Tuesday. No, he's not going through transition. Basically, Activision has said that Activision and Blizzard are going to start removing all the real-world references to characters in their games. And this is really built upon the bones of the lawsuit that got filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing that sued Activision after a 2-year investigation, saying, hey, you fuckers, you guys have a frat boy culture over there. You guys are bad fucking news. So they've done it before, like Jeff Kaplan, who left, who was the director of Overwatch. As far as I could tell, he's not involved in any of these shenanigans, but they're taking out everybody's real world name. I guess safer than sorry, right? So, but this guy, Jesse McCree, was the lead designer on Diablo. He had been working at the company there, the Blizzard, since 2005, but he was fired. It wasn't like Kaplan, who left on his own. Jesse McCree was fired, and he was fired. They didn't really say why, but what we do know about him is he was in that picture in what they called the Cosby Suite, which is where a lot of people are suggesting maybe possibly shenanigans went on that were not very reputable or potentially even legal. And also that he was on I think it was a Slack thread at work about the Cosby Suite, which is what they called it. I don't think you can fire someone for that, but clearly that might potentially paint a picture. But what we do know is he was fired. And what I think is kind of interesting about this is that the character Cole Cassidy is the character Jesse McCree. Blizzard released a video / piece of text about it, and I'll just read you a little bit of it. It says, running from his past meant running from himself, and each passing year only widened the divide between who he had been and what he had become. But in every cowboy's life, there comes a time when he has to stop and make a stand to make this new Overwatch better. They don't mean the game, they mean the team in the fiction of Overwatch. To make things right, he had to be honest with himself and his team. The cowboy he was, they won't even say his name. You get that? They won't even call him Jesse McCree in the story about Jesse McCree changing his name. The cowboy he was rode into the sunset, and Cole Cassidy faced the world at dawn. The cool part to me is they're still keeping it in canon. Not that it really matters, but it's just kind of cool that they're not just like, it's Cole Cassidy, fuck you. It's like, no, this is part of the story. I think that's pretty fucking cool. Activision has come out and said, this is the real problem I have with this, though. Not a thing about the name change at all. Totally great. But Activision's come out and they said, hey, fellas, we're working to make changes here. We fired more than 20 people, which is a weird number. It's like, was it 22? I mean, that's weird, right? And we've disciplined more than 20 people, right? So 40 people we've taken care of. And hey, by the way, none of them are executives as far as I can tell. Certainly none of them are board members as far as the media has reported. And we're also getting rid of these names because, you know, the name Jesse McCree is going to hit all those terrible people or people who were affected by these terrible actions of our employees. All this shit seems performative. At the same time, they have alleged, the alleged things that have happened, they have vigorously denied. This didn't happen. And it's a little weird to me. It's a little weird to me that they're saying, well, this didn't happen. The reports are wrong, and they're jumping through hoops with lawyers trying to get all this shit removed or thrown out of court, or they're trying to get certain evidence erased because of one case that occurred that other case wanted to use that same evidence. It's like, no, we want that deleted. It's like, if you didn't do anything wrong, then why are you trying to throw it out of court? Or why are you trying to reduce the impact? And more importantly, why are you doing all of these emails coming out and firing people and press releases about, hey, we've gotten rid of these people? There's either a problem or there's not. I can think one of two things. They did nothing wrong. I don't believe that, but, guilty till innocent. Sorry, that's America. Innocent till guilty. That's the law. They either did nothing wrong and they have to fight it on two fronts. They have to fight it on the front that says, hey, look, we have a PR front we have to fight on, and we also have to fight it legally, but we did nothing wrong. Okay, the more likely one is, to me, in my opinion, is they did something totally wrong. They don't want the punishment for it, but they want the PR blowback to go away, and they want to kind of make sure that, hey, maybe we don't have to be this kind of company anymore, and we dodged a bullet. My guess is it's B. It's the second one. We will see. Eddie Torres asks, so are they going to remove all the previous voice lines from other characters that call him McCree? Yes, they are going in, and those other characters are now they have re-recorded lines where his name is Cole, I can't even remember his name, Cole Cassidy. So yes, that has absolutely occurred. Brian E. says, all respect to the upright managerial staff at Activision Blizzard, but the fact their first response to employee issues in the lawsuit was to gaslight it makes me not trust their response. Well, of course not. Of course not. There's no good and goddamn way this is. I mean, again, I have to keep saying allegedly. I don't want to fucking get sued. I don't know what happened there. But when you've got multiple agencies investigating and saying they did something wrong, and then when you've got them saying we did nothing wrong, but they're doing all this other stuff that seems at best performative, at worst they're like, shit, we really did do something wrong. There's smoke and there's fire, and I think I don't know. They're probably going to get away with it, though, based on some of the legal stuff I read recently. They're probably going to get away with a slap on the wrist, and Bobby Kodak's going to continue to fly private and continue to not pay taxes and continue to ask President Xi in China whatever President Xi wants, he will get. That story, number 10 of the week. Let's go to story number 9, shall we? You're never going to guess what it is. Yeah, you are. It's the NPD numbers came out for September. I want to tell you something. The reason this story matters to me and the reason I think it was bigger news to me than most people, it was just like, the numbers came out. Okay, I'll give you the rundown very quickly, but then I'll tell you what the real story is. Number 10, brand new, Life is Strange True Colors. That's kind of cool to see that up that high. Number 9, Miles Morales Spider-Man. Number 8, Ghost of Tsushima. Those motherfuckers ain't going anywhere. They are hanging on for dear life. Number 7, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Number 6, brand new, Deathloop. Not bad-ish. Not bad-ish. It's okay. I don't think there's going to be a sequel to Deathloop. That's what I think. Might get Game of the Year. Maybe look at this. I don't think so. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, number 5 is Diablo 2 Resurrected. Number 4 is Tales of Arise, which stuns me in a good way. That's amazing. 3, we get back to what we expected. NBA 2K22. Number 2 is FIFA 22. Number 1, of course, is Madden NFL 22. The reason this particular story is fascinating to me is it just is... Oh, and by the way, there's no Hot Wheels. Fuck you, audience. Fuck you. Fuck you, goddamn right, Mo. Mo just subscribed. He wants to join me in the fuck you-ness to the people who didn't go out and buy Hot Wheels, one of the best games of the year. What a fucking blast of a game that is. But listen to me. Okay, here's the real story, okay? We live and discuss and talk video games and go on message boards as if we are some sort of authority. I worked in games forever. Now I talk about games all day long. We're all in a goddamn bubble. Okay, we can talk about how offensive Activision is. Guess what? Nobody gives a fuck. Diablo 2, which is made by Activision, comes in at number 5, brand new. Call of Duty Black Ops is still hanging onto the chart. But get this one. We can talk about how buggy the 2K games are when it comes to like the wrestling game from last year. When we talk about NBA 2K21, all the microtransactions, all the buggy shit, doesn't matter. A good goddamn number fucking 3 comes in with the bullet. Number 2, FIFA, pay to win all the fucking cards. We hate it. We hate pay to win. We hate loot boxes. No, you don't. You put it up at number 2 in America. In America, where soccer's just kind of like a B-tier sport in America. It's number 2. Number 1, Madden, it's the same thing every year. It's just a fucking roster. It's just a fucking roster change. That's bullshit. Fuck them. Yeah, fuck them. Fuck you. Number 1, Madden NFL 22, I think for the second month in a row. It's not listed as a new register, so I think it came out in August. But think about that, and just think about how much of a bubble we live in, where most of what we're talking about don't mean shit, because the audience that really rules the roost are the ones that spend the ducats. And the ducats right now are currently clearly being spent on the things that we say we're so offended by. Bacon Magma says there's no Returnal, no Hot Wheels, or BB and Tina. BB and Tina doesn't stand a chance in hell, sir, but Returnal was on there a little bit, fell off. Hot Wheels never made it at all. But I'll tell you something about Metroid. We will probably see, somebody was asking in the chat about Metroid. We will see Metroid up there next, October NPDs. But what I have found fascinating about Metroid is, forget my own personal stuff with Metroid, but what I find fascinating about it is the drop from week 1 to week 2 was 63% in the UK. And tomorrow is really going to be the proof in the pudding. Is Metroid so heavily front-loaded that the fans that adore it and that are fighting for it and that are really nervous about it because they want it to do well, so they understandably get more of this poorly designed series, do those individuals... Are they a big enough number to sustain this as a proper Nintendo hit throughout the holidays? But if we see the numbers tomorrow coming out from the UK, and they'll drop them tonight at midnight on Eurogamer probably, you will, if those numbers come in again at a 50% drop or a 60% drop from the 60% drop it was already at last week, I think the proof is in the goddamn pudding. And as much as people are hardcore fucking fans of Metroid, that's a series that either is going to have to evolve or basically not get made full price by Nintendo anymore, and indies will have to take up the cause, because you can't afford a game like that it doesn't sell that well. Nintendo, I mean, you can't. I mean, you could do it, but you'll lose your fucking money. All right, number 8. Can you guess what the number? It's not shots fired, you old fuckstick. Listen to me. These are September sales numbers. Metroid came out in October. Yes, of course. No, like I'm saying, the only Metroid numbers that we have right now are coming from the UK with boxed and some digital sales, because they, for whatever reason, I wish we did it here, release this every single week. I love getting those figures, but frankly, it would be better if we got them from a lot of places, but the only place you can get them is from the UK. Eddie T says it probably had a small budget and it's still better than every game Sony and Microsoft puts out besides Returnal. Eddie T, them are fighting words, and I'm not even going to talk to you anymore. Edward, let me tell you something. If you follow Eddie T, and you should on the Twitter, if you follow Eddie T, this motherfucker probably 3, 4, 5 times a week shows you the newest collectible this guy has. This guy is probably the most avid, active video game collector I've ever come across in my life. I'm not saying there aren't bigger ones, but he's the only one I've ever engaged with at this scope. And I'll tell you something. This guy needs to put up some fucking pictures. I want to see your goddamn collection. I want to see a video of all the shit you have, because it's got to be impressive as fuck. Mocha Chocolate drops super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, what's up, DJ? I'm heading to Florida for vacation tonight. Wish me luck. Well, I used to love to go to Florida for vacation. I was raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and so we would always go to Destin or Fort Lauderdale or Panama City for vacations and for spring break and whatnot. So I enjoy it down there, but Florida in the time since I've been gone has gotten goddamn crazy as fuck. And be very fucking safe. And I don't know if you're driving. If you're driving, be safe. If you're flying, be safe. Have a good time. They're crazy motherfuckers down there. Number 8 on the charts. Back when I was a kid, there was a show called American Top 40. And they had Casey Kasem, who did the voice of, I think it was Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo original cartoons. Every time they'd get into numbers, they'd have ladies sing this, like, number 8. And I love that, but they've gone. They're all dead now. Number 8 is Mr. Matthias Booty. Of the Xbox clan. He says, look, man, I got to admit something to you folks. We're lagging behind, boys. That's what he says. He literally comes out, talks to Kind of Funny fellas, you know, newly minted father, Gregory Miller, and his band of Merry Mischief Makers. He says, hey, listen, hats off to Sony. He says it's kind of funny. Their studio system and the leaders that they've got there, it is fantastic. You can't argue with the quality and the craft and the games they delivered and that they're working on now. Kudos and hats off to them, says Matt Booty. This is what he says. Now listen to this. He says, I think there's a certain kind of game that generates an anticipation. It becomes this tentpole moment. It's a game that fits the intersection of everybody and can play. It's a big world you can inhabit. I think those kind of games are important. And certainly it's been a place where we have not been out front. We haven't really had the sort of one-to-one. What's our horizon? What's our this? What there's that? I don't want to talk about that, he says. But I want to make games. He says that is absolutely the kind of games we want to go after. Okay. Well, no shit, right? It doesn't mean I'm not one of these guys. Look, I love a lot of the stuff that Microsoft is doing. I love a lot of the fact that they are becoming the premier place for RPGs and certainly Western RPGs in the world, if you look at these studios that they've acquired. But yeah, I absolutely think that they could use one or two games that... Because I don't want to see them stop making stuff like Wasteland 3. I don't want to see them stop making stuff like Psychonauts. But I would love to see... And I understand why Booty is saying this, why they need some games that really can be, it's not one-to-one with Uncharted, but it's of that type of game. Gears of War 5, kind of. But other than Gears 5, I can't really think of anything that they've done. By the way, I have to let you know, I'm going to continue with this story, but Jojo D drops a bomb in the chat. He says, Greg Miller's new baby looks like Colin Moriarty. I think oh my God, man, that's terrible. That is great and terrible in all the best ways. I guess 9 months ago or 10 months ago, guess who had a hashtag day without a woman? Must have been Greg, because she was over at Colin's place. Goodness gracious, Joe, you're a mean son of a bitch, and I love it. Now, listen to me. So back to the Matt Booty story. Here's the deal. Okay, here's the deal. I do not think that you are going to buy the studio like they've been trying to compete one-to-one with Sony. Okay, I know the Sony people. I was the Sony people. It's not just a difference of budget. It's a difference of the quality, not quality, that's mean, but it's a difference of the kind of people at Sony that guide the games at every level, okay? Sony does these games, whether you love them or hate them. They do these kind of games that Booty is talking about better than Crystal Dynamics, better than Ubisoft, better than Microsoft, and a lot of it is the culture that the people that can do these kinds of things attract. Neil Druckmann is not going to leave Naughty Dog and go to Crystal Dynamics. Cory Barlog is not going to leave and go to Ubisoft. But if Matt Booty rolls up and says, hey, well, and I'll give you a cheat sheet, okay? Go after Cory Barlog, go after Neil Druckmann, go after Shannon Studstill, go after Scott Rohde, go after the MLB team in San Diego. I'm not saying they should do that, but I'm saying that what you should do if you really want Sony games is you need to bring in at all levels, from the tech level, from the management level to the design level, the kinds of people that are doing what you do. You go out to Crystal Dynamics makes great Tomb Raider games. I hear Guardians, which is coming out this week, is a really good game, but they don't do what Sony does, and it's in the DNA, and it's been there for a very, very long time. I watched it get put in the fucking DNA. They really walk the walk and talk that they talk when they say we consider this art. That's a big part of their day-to-day function there. And I think if Xbox wants to get into this game, that's great, but they're going to have to get into the game by hiring people who already know how to play the game. You're not going to get into it by hiring developers that are great developers but have never played this particular game before. It's not going to happen. Isn't it also how they handle their teams, says Heretic? Yes, it's absolutely that. But that's why I'm saying go hire Scott Rohde, go hire Shannon Studstill, go hire Connie Booth. And I don't mean just fucking hire. I mean you're fucking Microsoft. Enough of the bullshit. You go to these motherfuckers and say, you know what? I'm giving you stock. I'm giving you back end. You can quit. You're getting royalties. You're not getting bonuses. If you guys make a game that does this number of business, however we determine that on Game Pass, you guys forever more will, in your contract, just like residuals for movie stars, you will get back end. And you will have an actual piece of the back end, not some bullshit bonus that's a discretion of your boss or any of that. You have got to treat these people like other mediums treat their rock stars, or you're not going to get them. Because why would they leave Sony at this point? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Let's move on. Number 9. No, we did number 9, my motherfucker. 7 comes after 8. Number 7. Starfield drops their... This is pretty cool. I was not that interested in Starfield. Hang on, I got to take a sip of the marijuana. Okay, listen to me. Starfield drops number 7. God damn it, Jeff, you fucking high motherfucker. You know, somebody online was accusing me of being an alcoholic. I don't even like alcohol. Can't stand it. I'll drink it from time to time. Like maybe I drink out. It doesn't matter. Rarely. Fuck you. I'm not an alcoholic. That's a terrible disease, though. I wouldn't want that. Sony does not give back end, Null Zero. No, they do not. They do not do back end. They are wonderful. And I don't know if it has changed a little bit, but when I was there, they said, hey, look, if your game makes profit, everybody on the team gets a percentage of what we call the discretionary fund, which is an amount every 3 months that is given to the studio head, and the studio heads and the other leads will say, based on your performance and based on the deal you made when you came into Sony and based on your job, this is a percentage of that pie that you get. And that is a very big pie, and it is very lucrative in a lot of ways. People have gotten very well-to-do off of that pie. So Sony is brilliant in that way. But you're not going to pull someone from Sony by that. You've got to have a fucking... get a story written about you in Variety, kind of blow your mind, signing bonus and a back-end deal if you want to compete. All right, let's move the fuck forward, shall we? No, there's no stock options. No, James. Where would your life be if you hadn't left Sony? Enough to retire? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I would be as rich as people think I am. I would be an absolute... I mean, assuming things would have kept going and I would have been continuing to be more associated with God of War and things. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would be probably worth $8, $9, $10 million probably. But I will tell you that Sony was wonderful to me and my family, and then we got real fortunate because my ex-wife knew how to invest it, and so I'm pretty good. I thank you for asking, but I'm pretty good. But no, I would imagine the people who stayed and who have been there, pretty as they should. They've earned it. All right, let's move on. Starfield drops details, number 7 in their new trailer. So Starfield was always this thing I was aware of. I love science fiction. I love outer space. Even though I don't think it's a good commercial decision, I was more interested in what they're doing with Indiana Jones. But they dropped a trailer this week. That was one of the big stories this week. And it's actually pretty fucking cool. It doesn't show much gameplay or any gameplay. I think there is some real time in there. But it was really cool to see how rich and deep the game is trying to be. Now, if they pull it off, who the fuck knows? But it's great to see a unique IP at this scope coming from someone other than Sony. I don't think they're going to be making an Uncharted kind of game. It's still such a big fucking game that it's probably going to be a little janky, and it's probably going to be a little buggy, and it's probably going to be more modular and less handcrafted. I think anybody kind of thinking this is going to be No Man's Sky meets Skyrim meets Uncharted, which sounds great if you could make it, but it would probably cost, $1 billion to make. I'm not even kidding. If Grand Theft Auto 5 was $500 million, or Red Dead 2 was $500 million, you'd probably be getting up there. But anyway, though, it sounds great because it sounds like they're diving deep into the lore and the history and new characters and factions and religious cults in outer space. Sounds great. It also seems to be straddling the line between hardcore, like hard sci-fi, like 2001. I would call Death Stranding hard sci-fi, even though it's kind of hokey. It still kind of feels hard sci-fi, which is sort of more based in semi-reality, versus space opera. I think it kind of seems like it's in between, which is pretty cool. I would be careful not to overpromise, because I think you could get into a No Man's Sky situation where people, you watch this trailer and it kind of is like, this is going to be the biggest, best game out. It's like, if I were them, I wouldn't do it. You're going to run into cyberpunk problems. You're going to run into to No Man's Sky problems. Keep expectations in check, but it looks pretty fucking good for the recent thing, the most recent thing they've put out. Here are the 2 comments from YouTube that stood out the most to me. One of them just says, I like the idea of not being a chosen one character. This is a guy who said this. He says, I come to enjoy that more in games than I did in the past. Meaning, like, a lot of these RPGs are like, you are the chosen one, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it's an age thing, and the older you get, because this guy clearly has been playing for a long time, I don't know if it's an age thing, and the older you get, the more you say, I don't really, when you're 20 or 15 or 12, it's like, oh, you're the chosen one. You're going to go out and change the world. But by the time you get to 30, 40, it doesn't mean you're not going to have a great life and change the world in your own way. But those fantasies no longer stick to the bones. And the idea of just like, hey, man, I'm living in this crazy world and I'm trying to make a difference, that kind of makes more sense. And so maybe that's what he's saying. The other comment that I love that I've never really thought about, but I've absolutely, subconsciously thought about is this guy says, I must survive to play this game. And the response is, like, I'm always worried when I get a new game in the car ride on the way home, I'm going to get in a terrible accident and a big fireball and I'm going to die and I'm never going to get to play it. But it is interesting when there's a movie coming out, like a new Indiana Jones, a new Star Wars, a new game I really want to play. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about I could be dead by the time this fucking comes out? Something could happen between now and the release of Starfield where 3 people watching this motherfucking stream right now could not make it. And you won't get to play it. Think about that. Terrible. Just a terrible fucking thing. But anyway, Chris Wilkerson says after Fallout and 76, they have a lot to trust to re-earn before I give them money. I don't know, man. I don't have the same, not cynicism, because it's earned. I know a lot of people have gotten really turned off by Bethesda, and specifically this group in Bethesda, because of those buggy releases. But the Fallout 76 has turned a corner, right? Even Skyrim? What's their Elder Scrolls Online or whatever? I hear that's turned a corner. I don't know. I mean, I think when you're talking games this big, you end up with some buggy shit. It kind of comes with the scope, man. If you were dead, it won't matter, and you won't know what you were missing, says James Gilman. Yeah, I don't know. We don't really know that, but you're probably right. Even if you know, you probably won't care, because you'll just be sort of isness, right, if you die. But that said, sure. But it's still scary to think about. Fuck you. Here we go. So, I want to tell you about Cyberpunk real quick. This guy says, Well, Chester says, I'm 40. I like being the chosen one in real life. In real life, I'm not the chosen one. I want it in the fantasy. All right, well, there's a different perspective. Is there a word for that fear? Because I experience it every time I pre-order something, says Heretic. I don't know if there is, but it wouldn't surprise me. I read a whole thing the other day. Can somebody get Betty Swallows out of here? I read a whole thing the other day about words that are in other languages that we don't have in English, and it wouldn't surprise me if that is one. Somebody said about, I just want to find this real quick, because about No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, about over delivering. Oh, yeah, Magic Circle says, I would disagree. Cyberpunk hyped their product well, too. Obviously, that alone is not enough. No, I know, but if you people were talking about Cyberpunk as if it was the holodeck. It's like, you can do everything in here, and it has this faction and that faction, and then you can do this, and you can do that, and you can do this job, and you can build this house or whatever. And it was just like, and that team didn't really allow... They didn't move away from that narrative, and in that, I think don't get me wrong, it was a buggy fucking game. Thank you, Rathy, I appreciate it, buddy. It was a buggy fucking game, but it did, it did over promise regardless. Eddie says, I think it turned the corner. I hear that, although I know, as you know, one of the stories is they just moved the Cyberpunk PS5 and Xbox S X to 2022 now, so who knows when the fuck we're ever going to fucking see that shit. All right, Anthony Wright, thank you for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers. Sir, I don't have time right now to give you a big song and dance, but here's what I will give you. I'll give you a puff of the pot pipe. There you go, baby. Matt, take that in, and you get to make out with Kratos for 5 seconds. Here we go. Do it. 1, oh baby, 2, 3, 4, boom. Thank you so much for joining Anthony Wright, the Diet Soda Soldiers. I appreciate it very, very much, my friend. Now, let us move on. Don't tell me I played 5 minutes of that. You tell me I only played 5 fucking minutes of Cyberpunk? Not true. I bought it, believe it or not, on Stadia. I bought it on the system that was coming out that actually, on the day it released, had the best version. It ran the fucking best. And so I played it. I played enough Cyberpunk, which my guess is across a month and a half, I played about 3 hours of it on Stadia. And I played it enough to go, you know what? I'm excited to wait and play this when they put out the Cyberpunk version on Stadia that has all the upgrades, which I don't think they've done that yet. Ooh. Okay. People purchase the hype, says Jojo D. They buy the day one games with bugs instead of Game of the Year edition with far less bugs, DLC, and perhaps cheaper price. Yeah, that's fucking true. It's fucking true. All right, let's move the fuck on. Would you like to guess what number 6 is? I don't care. I'm going to tell you anyway. It is Elden Ring. Basically offering up on the, well, we know the game moved up. We know it's February 25th instead of January, whatever. And I'm only semi-excited because I suck at these games, but I did love Demon's Souls a lot. And I'm not going to fucking lie. There was a video that went around the other day, and it was talking about a part of the code of Bloodborne that was commented out that let you kick. And I had not played Bloodborne in a long time. I've tried it 3 times now, and it just demolishes me. But I love the world, and I love the IP, and I love the lore, and I was watching this, I'm like, fuck, I need to go back and play Bloodborne. I've got to figure out a way to get good enough at this game to progress enough that I can enjoy it. But I couldn't even kill the first boss in that game. But that said, though, between, the guy, what's his name, R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones, writing this, and it being another game from the same team, same director, I'm excited enough that you goddamn right, I'll get it day one. So Elden Ring is saying... they moved their date up. If you register at their site before November 1st, you have, I guess, less than a week, about a week. Next week's Halloween, so a week. You may very well get into their closed network test, okay? And so it's for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, S, and X. And it will be specific times of the day that you can play in of the night, November 12th through the 15th. I can tell you, you don't know, you're not going to know until November 9th if you actually get in, okay? But I've registered. I can tell you what's going to be in it, and they say it's the opening segment of the game. It's going to be limited content. It's going to be cross-gen play. There is no cross-play between like Xbox and PC, but there is cross-play between PS4 and PS5, right? So that will be working. I don't know. Some of the media reports have said, because this one of the things about this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because you would know more than I on this genre. But one of the things it said, or some of the press is saying, is that the open world won't be represented. Now, I'm of the mind that this is the first Souls-style game that's ever been open world, right? The way they're doing it is they have the big open world with lots of cool things to do. I assume you can kind of grind and chore up, but then they've got 6 actual handcrafted zones, and each zone has like a key boss, and you can tackle them in any order, right? Well, some of the press is saying, well, there's no way they're going to give that stuff away for this opening, but I would imagine, since this is, I could be wrong, tell me if I'm in the chat, but I imagine if this is the genre, let alone From Software's very first time doing an open world game that's also networked, that's gonna be the main thing they're gonna want to test. So I would be stunned if you don't get some of that open world, because out of everything they're testing, you'd think that would be the main thing they'd want to figure out, because it's brand new. So I don't fucking know. I don't know how you get in. Here's what I did. Here's what I did. Right, I said, it asked you 2 questions. It says, have you played any From Software games before? Now, I answered honestly, but ultimately I think my answers probably give me a better chance of getting in, because I said I have a PS5, which I'll play it on, which is the least owned system just because of the stock issue, or the stocking in store, not Sony stock issue. And I said I have played a couple of From Software games, and I was like, I played, and they also asked about Bloodborne, so I know that's not From Software, but I mean it is, but it's not published by From Software. So I hope that that's enough. I don't fucking know, but we'll know November 9th. You're not allowed to stream it, but it doesn't say you're not allowed to talk about it. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Gaming Philosophy says PvP in Elden may very well be what they're testing, the PvP areas, like small areas. The Kingsfield games, I haven't seen co-op talked about, but I have a screenshot that looks like there's multiplayer. Was that confirmed? Says Heretic. Yes, multiplayer is confirmed, but whether it's multiplayer like Bloodborne and Demon Souls, or whether it's more of a genuinely pair up with your buddy and 2 buddies and go adventuring together, which I know you can kind of do in some of these games, I don't know. I don't know. Why didn't you put that you were David Jaffe, says Peapod. I don't understand. I want to say before we move on, I would like to tell you that Katzu has also joined the Diet Soda Soldiers. And the good news and the bad news is he gets some pot. There you go, baby. Take some of that pot in and stick it up your butthole. There you go, my good friend Katsu. The bad news is Kratos is tired of making out, but you can make out with my bottle of Zoloft. Man, I love you so much. I love you so much, Zatsu. I want to make a baby. Oh, you just fucked it, Zatsu, and a baby came out. It's a little BB. That's how BBs get made. All right. Thank you so much, Zatsu. I appreciate it very, very much, sir. Now, Souls games are too hard for me, says Null Zero. They're too hard for me, too. But I enjoy them. I love Demon Souls. I love them because I can play them on stream and you guys can help me out. Who's to say you can co-op in the open world anyway? The Souls game defined regions as co-opable. SB, I have no clue. I mean, maybe that's one of the things we'll find out, because they are saying that the main reason they're doing this test is for the network. Let's move on. We're about to get into the top 5. Now, the top 5 is kind of like when you're whitewater rafting. I know you guys do that all the time. If you whitewater raft and you get into some rough areas of the river, that's where we're getting into the top 5. So I want to prepare you a little bit. I want to prepare you by telling you about 2 of our sponsors here on Gabbin and Games / Rearview Gaming. Let me tell you about this fella named Mavizzle. I'm going to show you a video in just a second. You're going to love it. Mavizzle is a streamer. He's also a member of our stream. But this guy has a show called Death Metal Interviews over on the YouTube. Okay. And he interviews, listen to what this guy does. He interviews really niche underground metal bands. He interviews underground niche wrestlers. And he interviews some weird as fuck motherfuckers. I'm going to just show you briefly 2 quick snippets of an interview he did, one with the wrestler and one with this woman who I am obsessed with, and she is going to be coming on our show soon, I think. This is about a 40-second, 30-second clip from Vizzle's talk show, and if you want to find it, Anthony Wright, you didn't get a glance. Anthony Wright says, Christ, Jaffe, he got all that, and I got a glance for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers. Fuck you, motherfucker. Let me tell you something, Anthony Wright. Anthony Wright, first off, you got to make out with Kratos, one of the best video game characters ever created. Number 2, that motherfucker Zatsu now has to raise a baby. He's got 18 years at worst where he's going to be saddled with the child. So you want to trade places? I'll fucking trade places with you. Or I won't, but I'll help you guys trade places. Listen to me. This is Mavizzle's 2 of his interviews. This guy's out of his fucking mind. Check this shit out. One moment. That's not it. That's what you want right there, Jaffe, old so-and-so. Here we go. Check this shit out.
Do you feel like the mask gives you an edge since you're not getting nails to the forehead and shit?
Yes and no. It deters people from my face sometimes. Like I've had my mask stapled to me a couple times. I've had my mask tacked to my head before.
Here today on the show, we have the clone of Vivi Vex. How does it feel knowing that, being one of the first clones, that can't be classified? How do you feel being a clone? Do you even know what clone means? Do you know that you're a copy of a different person? Is this the first time you're hearing this? I don't want to get you worked up.
I'm telling you, man, that's the real goddamn deal. That shit is crazy. I want to show you one other quick thing real fast. And then we'll get into the top 5. I want to tell you all about my buddy Rotten Tanuki and his Day One Patch Kids. Listen, say pal. I'm going to call you pals because we're best friends. Listen, the kind of funny guys have kind of funny best friends. I'm going to call us fuck buddies. Hey, fuck buddy. The holidays are coming up, and I know you've got video game fans in your life who are looking for unique gifts that celebrate their love of gaming. Sure you are, pal. Well, do I got a tip for you? Head on over to Rotten Tanuki's Redbubble page, or any of his pages, really. This one's the TeePublic, and check out his whole line of Day One Patch Kids. Now, just who are the Day One Patch Kids, I hear you asking? That's a great question. You're smart. Smart, solve the other fella. Well, imagine, if you will, a group of garbage pail kids who got thrown into a fucking blender with the world's most popular video games, and you'll have a good idea of what you're in for. Now look at this. He's got stickers. He's got hats. He's got hoodies. He's got pillows. All of these crazy characters are on. He's got wall art. Are part of the Day One Patch Kids. It's absolutely fucking beautiful. They even got one for Sweet Tooth and the Kratos fella. But my favorite one, of course, is, as I always tell people, is the Joel in one with good ma'am Abby there kicking the fuck out of Joel and knocking his head off. You'll find a link about it in the About section of the video, as well as scrolling through the chat during the show. Click on over and get your holiday shopping off with a twisted, weird as fuck, super cool game loving bang. It's Rotten Tanuki's Day One Patch Kids. Tell them Fred Anderson sent you. All right, there you go, fellas. We are about to jump into the goddamn top 10 the top 5. We're at the top 5. Number 5. See how that does? Let me put this right here. I'm a one-man band, people. I got to move this shit around. Hang on. All right, that goes there. It's slow. Fuck you. Oh yeah. I tell you what, cocaine works, man. Whoever says cocaine doesn't work, they can go fuck themselves. Am I right, boys? You know I am. Okay. Hey, good, BD. You should order something. I got a mug. I got the Joel in one mug. It's pretty fucking good. Okay, am I skipping the script again? You goddamn wrong. I'm writing this shit. Here we go. Let's go to number 5, boys. Number 5. Oh, can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. Here we go. Number 5 is Sony has announced the new State of Play. It's a 20-minute look of third-party titles coming very, very soon. Oh, hang on. That's a great idea, Heretic. Rotten T, if you're watching, Heretic says, are there plushies of Day One Patch Kids? I don't think so, but there better be, because if there are, I'm going to get a handful of them and put them on that back wall. That's a great idea, Heretic. This is the top 5 of the biggest news stories of video games of the week, okay? Of last week. Number 5, State of Play coming out this when's it coming out? It's coming out this Tuesday, I think. Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll tell you in a second. 20-minute look, third-party games. Old and new, they say there's a few reveals from their partners. It's Wednesday at 2 o'clock California time, 5 o'clock East Coast. Now, here, people are questioning. People are guessing. People are wondering what games will be there. I'll give you a list of what I've, there's like 6 sites I went to, and these are the ones that keep coming up. Riders Republic, because I think that launches the next day or this week or the next month. It launches soon. Call of Duty Vanguard, which kind of makes sense because Sony is kind of in the camp of Call of Duty this year and Xbox is in the camp of Battlefield, and that launches pretty soon. So maybe they'll show a new multiplayer mode, more of the campaign. In fact, the last campaign trailer they put out was just cinematic, so it'd be pretty cool if they actually show gameplay from the campaign. Maybe some Elden Ring, maybe Saints Row, because that comes out in February. Please don't show Sifu anymore. I'm so fucking tired of seeing Sifu. Kenna, Bridge of Spirits ended up being one of the great surprises of the year. I have balancing issues with it, but it's fucking great. And I was sick of seeing that motherfucking thing. Don't show Sifu anymore. I'm sick of it. Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, thank you so much. I said Finn Lamb. Oh, has subscribed. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Listen to me. Guardians of the Galaxy comes out the very next day. Probably show something there. Here's the ones I care about. I'd like to see Ghostwire Tokyo. I'd like to see a little bit more from Stray, Forspoken, Little Devil Inside. Some people are saying maybe Final Fantasy 16, right? But I do want to see the new stuff. I want to see the exclusive stuff. I don't disagree. Eternal says Sifu looks amazing. I'm not... says Sifu looks amazing. Sorry. Yes, you're not wrong, but I'm sick of seeing it. Just fucking put the goddamn thing out and shut up about it. I don't need to see it. You know what I'd love to see? I would love to see Hot Wheels. If they had PlayStation Hot Wheels as DLC, my goodness, for the Hot Wheels game, and there was like I was going to say Crash Bandicoot. You can't do that. If there was like a fucking Kratos one, and more importantly, give me some fucking Hot Wheels from Twisted Metal in there. God damn, man, I would love that, but I don't think that's coming. They do have new DLC for Hot Wheels coming. That's all Batman, Batmobiles, Joker-mobile, Robin's car, all that shit. So, Ghostwire's looking great, says Heretic. I agree. The first State of Play says Eddie T without Deathloop. That's true. I was getting tired of seeing Deathloop as well. But yeah, they're only going to talk about third party. And obviously, I hope we get to see some new stuff from... They said there will be reveals from their third party partners. So hopefully they'll drop... No, they're not going to do that. I was going to say maybe they'll drop some big PS Now news because they really... I wish... I almost am ready to cancel my PS Now because it's went over to monthly. And it had been a year and then it ran out and I said, I'll just have it do monthly. I just never use it, because there's nothing on there to use. Give me some games on that thing that are exclusive, Sony. Number 4, the Uncharted trailer has dropped and I want to talk about it briefly. This one fascinates me because I looked at a bunch of places just to see what the ratio is on the Uncharted trailer, right? So the Sony Pictures site has 173,000 pro 10K negative. PlayStation has 178,000 pro 20K negative. Movie Clips, which is more of a mainstream site of moviegoers and not game fans, has 8,000 positive, 1,000 negative. So all of those, whether they're hardcore fans or whether they're movie fans, everybody keeps saying the same thing, which is that they like the trailer, but if you go into the chat, it inevitably is about how the casting is shitty for Sully and Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. The only one that's really negative is if you go to it on GameSpot, it's like a 2-to-1. They have 2,000 people like it and 1,000 people don't, which was the most divisive that I've seen. It's almost like Sony fans and movies, let's just take games. Sony fans at Sony Pictures and PlayStation are willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, whereas maybe GameSpot is not all obviously Sony. It could be Xbox, could be Nintendo, could be PC. They're much more vocal about it. What I will tell you, though, is I think the film looks, for my opinion, I think the film looks fine. It looks generic. It kind of reminds me of a little bit bigger budget Liam Neeson action film, or it kind of reminds me, and one of my favorite movies is the B movie, The Scorpion King with The Rock, right? And I know it's not a good movie, but this looks kind of like a big budget B movie, trailer. And it looks like it'll come and go and, it'll be forgotten. My feeling is it'll do this. Here's my theory. I'll go back and put this when the movie comes out. I think it's going to lock in at a 45 Rotten Tomatoes. And I think it's going to be a little better than the Tomb Raider remake numbers. So Tomb Raider in America made, give or take, 60 million. It obviously was a bigger hit worldwide, made 200 million worldwide. I have a feeling this is going to be in America. Maybe it'll inch its way up to 100 million, but I don't think this is going to be a hit. I don't think it's going to flop hard, Centro. I don't think it's going to be like, embarrassing, like the lowest big budget grossing film or the lowest big expensive film of all time. I think they say is that movie Jim, based on the Jim and the Holograms 80s cartoon and stuff. I don't think you're talking that. But it's got stars in it. It's action. It'll get a big, a relatively decent advertising budget. I think it'll be a solid popcorn movie that you'll forget 10 minutes after you leave the theater. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I love action movies, but this just doesn't seem all. What's interesting about this is I almost made a video about it, but a lot of my movie videos don't do that well on this channel. But it's really fascinating to me because I watched this trailer and I was just A few days later, I watched the trailer for Michael Bay's new movie, The Ambulance. Now, whatever you think about Michael Bay, he makes, if you like his style of movie, they're really entertaining. The trailer for The Ambulance has none of the stuff that Uncharted does in terms of these crazy big stunt pieces and set pieces. But it's so funny. Like, if you strip Uncharted out of this trailer, it's just generic, boring nothingness, right? As a trailer. It's got some cool stunts, but it's like, whatever. The Ambulance, which is still a big action movie, which is just like, there's nothing crazy about it in terms of the stunts, is within the first 20 seconds, you have empathy for the main character. And within a minute of the trailer or 40 seconds of the trailer, questions are being asked in the audience's mind, like, wait a minute, this guy seems like a bad guy bank robber, but now he seems like the good guy in this. What the fuck is this movie about? And on top of it, the stunts they do show are really interesting and well performed and well shot. And I'm just saying that it's just like, don't fucking pull the trigger on this shit, man, until you got a good director and a good writer, because content is a dime a dozen these days. No, it's not. Heretic says it's Indiana Jones with a younger lead for non-gamers. And I would say, no, you're wrong. Because Indiana Jones, look, I was a kid when those trailers hit. I was a kid when those movies came out. Indiana Jones was a breath of fresh air in the movies. You were like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen anything like it. So if you want to make an Indiana Jones for non-gamers and younger audience, that's great. But you have to go back to what it was about Indiana Jones in 1981 that got people so excited. This is just riffing on the same goddamn shit. So I didn't care for this. This is story number 4. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. I'll see it. But what I've seen come out from The Last of Us HBO show looks a lot more interesting simply based on what I know about the property and what I've seen than Uncharted. Uncharted almost feels like a launch title, which for PlayStation Productions, it kind of is. It feels like one of those games that you're excited about because it's a launch title. Like, I'm trying to think of Midnight Club actually became something, but like Smuggler's Run or something. It's like, oh, you're all excited. It looks great. And nobody ever talks about Smuggler's Run anymore, right? That's what this feels like. All right, the third top story of last week. Here we go. Number 3. Look how the letters are getting bigger, you guys. Xbox Game Pass misses their target. I want to talk about this because it's fascinating to me. These guys had set a target. They says, we're going to hit 48% growth rate, I guess, from January to now. They released these figures at the end of September. I'm trying to think if it was end of fiscal, but they released these numbers last week. They missed it by 9%, 10%. So that's still growth. It's still really strong growth. 37% growth is not bad, but it's not what they wanted, right? Somebody did the math for me online. I don't know if this is correct because I don't do maths very well. But they said to me, if it was 18 million in January and these numbers are correct, they got 37% growth based on these other numbers. They're at about 24 million right now, which is not bad given that there really aren't any big premier titles that are driving people to it. The people who have Game Pass right now will be people who are like me that just like games in general and love all these variety of games we get, or there are people who are, going, this is going to be a good investment and I may as well get in now because the deals are really good. I don't fucking know. But here's what I will say. There have been a number of stories. There's a couple things that are interesting to me about this. There have been a number of stories that have been written about these figures saying that it's hit driven. And if they can sustain those hits every month, every 6 weeks, once they start getting rolling, like Forza Horizon 5 in November, Halo Infinite in December, then, if it doesn't work, then fundamentally it's just a broken concept. I, of course, believe in it. But when you look at 23 studios, and even this week, Phil Spencer saying they're going to get more, or they're open to buying more. If they do that and the games range from like the worst Gears of War, which is like an 82 Metacritic, 83 depending on what you look at, and at best like Psychonauts 2, which is 88 Metacritic, Flight Sim is 91, Horizon, the last one, is 92. In previews, by the way, there have been a couple that suggest the new Forza Horizon 5 is wonderful. Digital Foundry did a video; they said it's stunning. People are saying it's a next gen spectacle. So if they can do that, and every month, every 6 weeks, you're getting all these other games, but you're also getting these big drops that are really quality games between an 80 and a 95 Metacritic. I don't see how in the world it wouldn't be huge. Now, so Null Zero, this is interesting. Null Zero in the chat says, I got Game Pass for $1, and after my month, though, I'm gone. I understand. But the question is, let me put words in your mouth and you tell me if I'm correct. Are you gone because right now on Game Pass, you're not really all that interested in playing something like Unsighted, or playing something like this indie game that just dropped, or that indie game, or Back 4 Blood, which is like, a B title if there ever was one? Is it that? Or is it because you just didn't like the experience? Because I would assume, like all these articles being written are assuming, that once they start getting the bigger games, just like Netflix, once Netflix gets a Squid Game or a House of Cards, or Hulu gets a Handmaid's Tale, those are the things that bring people in. And then hopefully there's enough there every month that keeps you there. You're gone because the games aren't interesting to me. Right. But the question is, once they start becoming the AAA games, like, do you have any interest in the new Horizon and Halo? Somebody, by the way, in the chat is saying that tomorrow there is a secret reveal of Halo coming out, which I haven't heard of, but that would be great if it's true. I haven't heard that, but I'm totally down. I love the Halo betas. The other thing that's interesting about this. Well, yeah, Heretic says Outriders was an amazing day one Game Pass game. It was good. It was good, but it was one of those games that, I kind of forgot about it after about a week. I actually thought the story was really fucking good. Hello, Blake. Good to see you, buddy. If you had a game on Game Pass and you stopped paying for Game Pass, do you lose the game and save data? I don't know. I know you lose the game, but you never really lose the game unless they take it off the service if you resubscribe. I don't know about the data. I don't know if you're able to get that back or not. Okay. Oh, the campaign is being shown tomorrow, Truth Teller. And you know this? Oh, fucking great. I'm excited about that. Bacon says, Jaffe, I have an Xbox One. I never subscribed to Game Pass. I'm waiting until they release big games. Oh, I know. I mean, you're the kind of guy I'm talking about. You're the kind of guy that only likes the big budget graphic spectacles, and those are coming. And they may not be good, but they're certainly coming. Here's the thing that I really thought was kind of relevant to some of the things people talk about with Game Pass. This was from the Stephen Totillo article, I guess, over on Axios is what it's called. In 2019, the company added Game Pass subscriber growth to the short list of performance goals for top executives, including the CEO, meaning that their bonuses will be tied to like a number of things, like a number of LinkedIn sessions, the usage of Microsoft Teams, all that shit. They've also said the subscriber growth to Game Pass, reaching certain targets over the course of 3 years, pays out more stock to those executives. Now, The reason I think this is really interesting and telling, it's just, wow, I hope they get their money, whatever. But see, so Toby Moss says Xbox has always given them the console and milked them on extras. That's what a lot of people who don't like Game Pass complain about. They're saying, oh, it's just going to be this DLC microtransaction thing. And we've not really seen any evidence of that. But let's assume that that's still someone's fear. Well, in that case, wouldn't you be... These guys are doing exactly what all the other subscription services do. Netflix doesn't charge extra. They basically charge, or they make their money and they consider success based on the growing subscriber base, right? If these guys were planning on DLCing and MTXing their way to profitability, and they may eventually, but that's certainly not anywhere close to what they've shown, this tying their futures, their bonuses, their stock to subscription numbers wouldn't make any sense. To tie your fate to subscription numbers all the way up to the CEO suggests a company that's looking at this and saying, we have to take the HBO Max or the Netflix approach to subscription services. We are only as good as our last month of exclusives. And it doesn't mean there'll be good or bad exclusives. That we're waiting on. Maybe tomorrow's announcement and gameplay of the Halo beta will make you feel better or worse about that. But ultimately, this should at least assuage a bit of the argument that people say, oh, that's just going to be like mobile and MTX and all that. Maybe it will. But if that's the case, then these executives would be tying their bonuses to earnings of Game Pass, not subscription numbers, including the fucking CEO of the company. Come on now. So I thought that was interesting. All right, let's move on to, did I miss Super Chat? If I did, I'm sorry. Somebody tell me if you saw one that I missed and I didn't read. I'm happy to go back. Oh, I can look at it right here, actually. Hang on. I'll look at it in a second. I'll look at it at the end. All right, here we go. Here we go. Number two. You second what from Eternal? As you get older, you get more selective about what you devote your time to. Well, that's true because you got less time. Here we go. Wait a minute. Let me see this in the chat real quick. What is Rathy? Rathy's yelling at somebody, which is always fun. Hang on. Rathy says to this fella, where'd it go? Rathy, what are you getting into in the chat, sir? Come on now. I don't know. It's too far up the chat now. I wanted to see it. It don't make any goddamn sense. Okay. All right, here we go. So this is number two. I'm with you, Blake. Blake says, I don't understand the garbage games argument on Game Pass. What is your barometer? I mean, again, man, there are people. I mean, you got to respect people who have different opinions. I mean, I absolutely understand. Why did that chat go up? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Hello, Phil Spencer. There are people like Bacon Magma that say, I don't want anything but the AAA big stuff. And if that's what they like, and that's, fine. But I'm with Chester. He says, I like a variety of games and I own both PS5 and Series X. I'm the exact same. Have the exact same systems and setups and all that. And I love Game Pass. I have played so much good stuff on Game Pass. I'll talk about one of the things I'm playing in just a little bit. But yeah, if you're like Bacon Magma, sure, you're not going to get all excited about Unpacking coming to Game Pass on November 2nd. But Unpacking was one of my favorite top 2 games of last year. So, okay. Here we go. Number 2. You knew it was going to be there somewhere, didn't you? God of War coming to PC. I want to talk about this briefly. It's been talked to death, but there are some interesting aspects about it. Some people hate it. Here's the most fascinating. Well, let me give you the news first. So PC coming to PC, as we all knew, January 2022. Visual improvements. There's a YouTube channel from PsyQ1. He posted a video called Early Graphics Comparisons. Let me tell you what the media is saying about his video. Video highlights the differences between God of War PC and God of War PS5 upgrade build, meaning the one that you can upgrade on the PS5, obviously. Viewing the two back-to-back doesn't reveal much in the way of glaring distinctions, but the PC version does seem to run smoother in terms of frame rate. The side-by-side screenshots from the last 2/3 of the comparison video are more clear. Textures on the PC are more refined. Colors are more vibrant. Even shadows have an added bit of definition that's lacking in God of War on the PS5. And plus, also, as we know, we're going to be getting ultra-wide support if you have one of those monitors. You have unlocked frame rates, higher resolution shadows, RTX ray tracing, and it's $50. It's $50 only, and it's the definitive version. Basically, you can also mod it, obviously, which who knows what we're gonna get. So, if you've not played it, it's fucking great. I mean, it sounds like a great deal. I'm not going to get it because I've already played the fucking game and I really enjoyed it, but I don't want to play it again. Some people, of course, are hating it, but what I love about this is really what it lets you do. Is it lets you recognize this shift in the way hardcore gamers adjust their, I don't know how to put this. Hardcore gamers complain about a lot of things, but ultimately they come to accept it and even sometimes, depending on it, enjoy it, right? So it goes back to the horse armor. Now, obviously, we still have DLC problems and people who take advantage of it at a publisher level, but no one cares anymore about, oh, I can buy new cars for Hot Wheels. I can buy new fighters for Injustice 2. It's just the way of it, and kids coming up and most gamers today don't worry about it. Only if it affects gameplay, rightly so, they worry about it in terms of makes pay for power. Digital was the same. Complaining all the goddamn digital's never going to work. Fuck digital. I hate digital. Well, digital 2 years ago overtook physical in the holiday seasons, and now it's just a foregone conclusion that most people buy digital and not physical, okay? Well, this is a similar thing. Fuck Sony putting their shit on PC. I'll never buy Sony again if they start doing that. Blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, the amount of vitriol and anger in posts that I have seen where people are shitting all over this decision to put God of War on PC, they're still out there. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It totally exists. But it doesn't exist in the same amount that you saw for Death Stranding or Tsushima. I think it was Tsushima, Days Gone, and then what was the other one they put on there? They put the Detroit Become Human, and then what was the other one they just put on there? There was another one from Sony recently, and it just seems people just adapt and they get used to it, and they see that the sky isn't falling, and they move on with their fucking lives. So there's a lot of times where I think that. Well, Akuma says if you like owning nothing, then you'll like digital. Yeah, I understand. You don't have to sell me on the reason a lot of people like owning their games and like physical. I totally get it. I'm not saying you don't have a point that, you have a right to think what you want. I'm just saying that it almost goes back to that first thing we were talking about, or the second thing, number 9, the NPD, and we're all in a bubble. The vast majority of people that drive the business financially, they don't care about the same things that these hardcore folks care about. So, God of War was wiped from top Steam sales chart the next day. PC players don't really care about the game if it's released for... Well, I don't think that's true. I don't think it necessarily means that it's at the top, but I would assume that they've made profit off of these other games they've put on PC. And also remember that Sony just purchased, one of the most prolific port houses to PC from console on the planet. I don't disagree. Obzar let you resell digital goods. Look, I've had so many people when I complained about Metroid come at me and say, "Oh, well then give it to me. I'll take it." I'm like, I would love to. I would love to take the games I know I will never play again, either because I'm done or I got bored or I didn't like it, and give it away. But I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. You only own the license to play the copy of the game anyway. If you buy the physical, yeah. I have all platforms except gaming PC at this time. I'm not an idiot and recognize the PC master race. I mean, PC is if you can afford a PC, especially now with everything except Nintendo coming to PC, get a fucking PC. It's the best fucking place to play now. Why would you not be there? Unless you can't afford it, because they're expensive as fuck. Now, let's talk about number 1. Number 1 is there's somewhere we're gonna get into number 1, but I got to tell you 2 more quick things about some of the people that really helped make this show go. Oh my God, the bubbly is so good. I'm with you, baby. Eternal says, I don't get why people care so much about a plastic box that doesn't biodegrade and a disc that gets lost or scratched. It may be an age thing. I don't fucking know. But I don't look. I understand that physical things and a connection with physical things can bring psychological comfort. But I understand it in the same way that I understand religion can bring psychological comfort. And that you don't want to take away something that brings someone comfort and a sense of contentment in a world that is as chaotic as ours. I'm not a jerk. I get it. But I also, in the same way that I understand that it's like religion, I don't think religion's healthy either. Like, I think if you were talking to somebody and saying, I'm going to have a reality show and I'm going to be a therapist and decide out of these 20 contestants, who is the most psychologically healthy? I think somebody who's pretty religious and or pretty materialistic, both of those people would probably get pushed away relatively quickly because they're both coping mechanisms that are not ultimately dealing with the truth of why you're coping in the first place. Now, let's talk about two people who make this stream possible. All right, I want to talk to you first about what you're seeing on your screen right here. This is pretty interesting. Now that needs to be bigger. Come on, Jaffe. People expect a professional. No, they don't. No, they don't. Here you go. If you've been on the internets for a while, or for any decent amount of time, you have to have heard of this site. You have to have heard of World of Long Plays. Our very own God Award tier member Spazbo 4 is one of the key fellas over there, making sure they got fast and frequent comment-free drops of all the games you love. From classics like Mario, Super Mario Brothers, and Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse, and hell, Mario 64, to brand new games that have just come out, like Back 4 Blood, I think they just put up recently. These guys pretty much have everything. If you got a lack of time or a need for a hint, or do you just want some great background company to have on while you work or do other things? World of Long Plays is a YouTube channel you want to sub to and return to over and over. Just this week alone, they put up, what did they put up? Let's look at their new videos this week. Check this shit out. This is their latest videos. Fucking PSX long play of the Chess Master 3D. Who the fuck is playing that? Well, these guys are. Look at all these fucking old games they got up, and then I want to show you some of them. They got Tormented Souls, the new Resident Evil style game that just came out last month. They got Back 4 Blood over here. They do it all. Spazbo's World of Long Plays, because the only thing longer than a long play is Spazbo's cock. That's not true. It might be true, but you got to go ask Fred Anderson if that's true. Go to this site. It's good people. The other thing I want to tell you about is the Leetest podcast. We're going to play a little game here, folks. The Leetest is a new podcast where friends play games about games. Video games, of course. Let me explain this because it's a great concept, but it takes a little understanding, okay? These guys at the Leetest take classic game show style games and rules, debate wars and whatnot, and they aim their focus directly on video games. And voila, a podcast with games about games. Let me give you an example. See if you can solve these two. These are great. I love these. I made these up on my own. These guys are taking suggestions for games, suggestions for questions. Sometimes they'll even ask you to come on and compete on the air to actually be the winner. But listen, this is they call it movie smash up. Is one of the games they play. You get the plot of a movie and a game smashed together to make a title. Let me give you two. Let's see if anybody understands this and is able to guess it. What is the name of this movie game smash up? Here it is. Here's the description you would read. A farmer hears a mysterious voice telling him to pick up a machine gun lying in his cornfield. He does and is transported back to World War II, where he fights the Nazis with soldiers from the greatest generation who have long since died. Can you guess the name of that movie game smash up? I'll read it to you one more time, and then I'll just give you the answer. A farmer hears a mysterious voice telling him to pick up a machine gun lying in his cornfield. Well, he doesn't, and he gets transported back magically to World War II, where he fights the Nazis with soldiers from the greatest generation who have long since died. Well, if you don't know the name of that movie, it's not Field of War, it's Field of Duty. Let me give you one more. Field of Duty. It's Call of Duty mixed up with Field of Dreams. The last one I'll give you for today, then we're going to get into the number one news story of last week. An Elven-style adventurer finds a chicken that he can ride and realizes if he goes fast enough on the chicken, it will transport him out of his magical land and into America circa 1955. Let me read it to you one more time. An Elven-style adventurer finds a chicken he can ride and realizes if he goes fast enough on the chicken, it will transport him out of his magical world and transport him to America circa 1955. Come on now, you got to know that one. You got to know that one. Field of Duty, yes, exactly. Field of Duty, Jojo D got that one right. But let's see, does anybody know this one? Come on now. Come on now. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. Nobody got it. That is called A Link to the Future. Come on, it's A Link to the Past mixed with Back to the Future. Back to Zelda's close, but they gotta work. BB and Tina, they gotta work together. You can't just smash the titles together. Like Back to the Final Fantasy doesn't make any sense. And I didn't say Chocobo, I said chicken. It's got to be, you've got to link like Field of Dreams and Call of Duty. A Link to the Past and Back to the Future. Come on now. All right, fellas, we are going to move on to the number one story of this very week. And I wonder if you've got to be able to guess what this story is. I would be stunned and staggered if you don't know what the number one news story is of last week. Here we go. The number one news story in video games of last week. Dun, dun, dun. Number one. Yeah, fuck you. Number one. Fuck you. Grand Theft Auto. Look how the big one. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. There's a little bit of news about this. Not just that it's coming out, but let's start with the obvious, okay? Grand Theft Auto comes out digitally for everyone on November 11th. And that includes Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, the PS5 store shows that it's dropping a day early. They have it on their store as November 10th. Now, maybe that's a mistake. I don't have you blocked, Akam Zabuba, whatever your name is. No, I don't. That may be a mistake, or it may be that for some reason they're just dropping it sooner. Who the fuck knows? December 7th is when the physical edition ships, right? So you'll be able to go out and buy it in the in the store there. Well, you can say it's lazy ports. I'm going to tell you what's in the ports. It's actually pretty impressive. But okay, so December 7th is the physical. November 11th is the digital everywhere. There may be November 10th for PS5. November 11th for Game Pass gets you the San Andreas version for quote free because it's on Game Pass. It gets you the upgraded, remastered, what have you, of San Andreas. On December 7th, if you have PS Now, you get GTA 3 remastered on PS Now. And the only way to get Vice City is you have to buy the whole package. So remember the big dates are November 11th or 10th for Game Pass, San Andreas, and the digital of the whole thing for anyone, and December 7th for GTA 3 for PS Now, and the physical for everyone, right? The gameplay changes we know of so far that have been locked and announced. The driving, shooting, and controls in general are better, and they reflect Grand Theft Auto 5 style controls, not the controls that were in the originals. The resolution is higher. The frame rate is locked solid at 60. The one that actually will make a difference for me and probably make me finish a Grand Theft Auto for the first time in my life is that there is instant mission restart. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's the same reason I probably got as far as I got in Demon's Souls, right? Because you die or you fuck up, and it's not this long fucking wait to go all the way back. And all. I assume they still respawn you at the hospital, and you got to do that. But between that and the loading, my ADD didn't allow me to really stick with those games, other than sandbox aspects, for very, very long. Now, the other one that's interesting, though, is the content. I put a video up about this, and people... So here's how it went, right? About a month ago, Gamatsu, whatever, says, hey, there are going to be content changes to the remasters. And they... in a separate paragraph, but the same article, were acknowledging the changes to like aiming and driving. So a lot of people thought the content changes were talking literally about content, like offensive things that are from, they said content changes for quote modern audiences is what it said. And so people were saying, no, that's just talking about the gameplay quality of life. And some people were saying, no, that's literally talking about content changes. I made a video about it because, look, I mean, I'm not going to get into that. You can watch the video. But the high concept is there are some changes I think they should make and some changes they shouldn't. But the news that dropped, I guess, yesterday, there's a guy from Reddit called Chazah354. He's pointed out, this is from Game Rant, that during Rockstar's new reveal trailer for Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, Phil Cassidy's appearance has been altered. Phil Cassidy's a character in, I think he was in Vice City and 3. It has been altered with the Confederate flag being removed from his t-shirt and replaced with a skull. Phil Cassidy, as you may remember, is a supposed Vietnam War veteran with multiple stereotypical features of a deep American conservative. Since Rockstar GTA series is known for its satire and dark humor, many found it odd that Rockstar removed something they had been mocking from the start. So, that's one that I think they should keep, because I think that is reflective of the essence of what, I mean, if anything they change is not reflective of the original. But there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, for a modern audience to see a character. I mean, there's nothing wrong at all with any of it. They should be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. But if you're a business, I could see someone going, well, yes, we have a character in the movie who's a total racist redneck with a Confederate flag, but he's not someone that we say you should aspire to. He's a fucking crazy moron, right? I could see companies still being sensitive, but you're proving a point that most forward-thinking people would go, well, yeah, people who fly the Confederate flag are probably not the brightest bulbs in the pack, right? But then there are some of the things, but that's the only one we know of right now because we've seen it. We don't know, like last night people were talking about the name of the scooter in one of the games. It might be Vice City, which is, they call it like the gayo scooter or some kind of anti-gay slur or something. And it's like, I mean, they have a right to do it. Of course they have a right to do it. But, you know, I don't know the Hauser guys personally, but I would imagine that they, you know, these are cosmopolitan, intelligent, well-read humans. I don't think they have a problem with gay folks. And I think that in the past, I don't know why it was there, but I think now something like that would come off as kind of tone deaf. Doug says it's a funny, harmless name. No one will get hurt because of it. Doug, I mean, that's a bigger conversation we can have on a different stream. But I don't agree with that, right? I mean, anything can fall under that definition, which is it's a funny, harmless name. No one's going to get hurt. Well, okay, but if you're a little gay kid and you're 13 or 12 and you know in your heart, you're like, I don't want to say anything because my parents say gay people are awful and going to hell. But that little kid in his heart of hearts knows he's gay. And he basically is playing a game like this because his escape is video games, and he sees a big fucking game mocking who he fundamentally is. That is harmful. It's cruel. Yeah, it was called Fagio. There you go, is what it was called. So again, I'm not saying they don't have a right to do it. Of course they have a right to do it. Of course they have a right to do it. I just, you know, I wouldn't. Not because, oh, you'll be in trouble, but because it's kind of mean. But, you know, your mileage may vary. But anyway, there you go. Bacon says the trilogy removes some of the music content, and there are games on PS3 that look better than this trilogy. People are excited. The gaming community is in shambles right now, says Bacon Magma. Let me tell you something. Bacon Magma, about that. I don't disagree, but I was stunned to read. We talked about this on a previous stream this week. I was stunned to read that the one of the guys, Matt Pascatella, I think his name is, who is an analyst who covers the NPD, he says the only game that he can see that will beat Call of Duty Vanguard as the biggest game at Christmas is Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Remaster, man. So I'm with you. I think it should be a hit, but I don't understand why it would be that big of a hit. Babies, there you go. The top 10 stories of last week of video games. Let me give them to you. Number 10 was Overwatch name change. Number 9 was the fact that hardcore gamers live in a bubble, and if you want proof, look at the NPD report. Number 8 is Matt Booty himself says, oh my goodness, we are not one-to-one parity with Sony PlayStation games when it comes to narrative-based adventure games. I gave him some advice. He should take it if he wants to. Number 7 is the very cool but very short reveal of Starfield, new trailer. Number 6 is the Elden Ring. They pushed it to February, and they've announced a November 12th through X, I forget the date, closed open network test. Number 5, there's a State of Play coming up. All third-party titles. Number 4, people's response to the Uncharted movie trailer. Number 3, Game Pass misses its target, but there seems to be some really good reasons why. Interesting discussion there. Number 2, God of War comes to PC. It looks like it's going to be the definitive version and the cheapest version. And finally, number 1, Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy. We're talking about it coming, when's it coming, who's it coming to, and more importantly, what changes, good and bad, will be in the new product. Okay, I want to tell you some quick things now. I want to talk about what's coming next week. Okay, next week, which means the week of October 25th up until Halloween night, right? And we'll probably do another one of these shows next week, talk about the week's news. Here's some things to keep an eye on, okay? Number one, State of Play Wednesday. We already talked about it. Don't forget, I will be streaming that live, as well as I might be streaming tomorrow's Halo campaign, which I found out simply by being on this very stream. So tomorrow, look forward to that. I will be streaming it if I'm around, which I'm sure I will be, the Halo campaign drop reveal. Then Wednesday is State of Play, and that's coming on at 2 o'clock California time. I'll be streaming that. Guardians of the Galaxy comes out the 26th. I had no interest in this when I saw it revealed, but I don't know if we're still streaming. Are we still streaming? Hang on. We might not be. 6 a.m. Halo reveal. Okay, we're back. Good. Okay. It wasn't me. It popped and said something. Okay, anyway, here's the point. So Guardians of the Galaxy comes out the 26th, which is Tuesday at midnight. Does that mean it comes out Monday? Like if I'm living my life tomorrow night and it's 11:59, does that mean Tuesday at 12 a.m., the first second of Tuesday's birth, it'll be out then? Or does it mean I'm living my life on Tuesday and basically at 12 o'clock midnight, it's Wednesday is when it comes out? I've never understood that. And Mario Party's the same. It says it's coming out midnight or 9 p.m. here on the West Coast, but does that mean it's coming out Thursday late night, basically when the time changes, or Friday? Does anybody understand what I'm asking? I've never understood it. But regardless, Halo campaign is tomorrow. Guardians of the Galaxy is Tuesday. State of Play is Wednesday. Mario Party is Friday. So I will be streaming and playing all or a bunch of those. Hopefully I will see you there. Now, I want to tell you the last thing we do. I'm going to start doing this every week on this specific stream called Rearview Gaming. This is something I cribbed from it's the day before, says Ikatsu. Okay, all right, the day before. Okay. What platform am I getting Guardians on? Probably PS5 if it uses haptics. Are people still hyped for Halo Incomplete, says Demonic Deadbeat? I am because sorry, I'm reading the chat. I'm excited for it because I love the beta. I thought the beta controlled great. It was a lot of fun. So I'm very curious. I'm very, very curious. Plus, it's on Game Pass. I'm going to play it. If I hate it, I'll stop after an hour. Mario Party is leaked. Yeah, but I can't get it. I can just watch it. You said you weren't interested originally in Guardians of the Galaxy. You now are. What's the reason? So, Brian, the reason is that originally what they pushed for Guardians of the Galaxy was the obnoxious-looking characters, at least Peter Quill, the attempt at basically making James Gunn's vision come through in video game form with people who are not James Gunn. So it felt very forced and very cringy and shit. But since that time, I have heard a number of previews from Game Informer to video previews say the actual combat is really interesting, and the actual relationship between the characters affects not just the story, but actual gameplay, whether it's an ability they have or almost like a real-time Fire Emblem, right? Where if you've pissed off Rocket Raccoon and you do something with him in battle, certain things will not be available to you and stuff like that. So I just think that seems like a really interesting thing to layer on top of what looks like a nice but generic fighting game, right? I think that's a neat meta that might actually keep me engaged with it. So that's the reason. Some dude 94 dropped super chat. Thank you, buddy. What if a white kid saw your stream where you said that all white people are inherently racist? I am more than happy to answer that in just a moment. We'll get to free chat at the end, but I want to get to this first. This is there's a great podcast called Pop Culture Happy Hour, which is run through NPR. But they do this thing at the end called What's Making Us Happy. And I really love that segment. And I love it especially because a lot of people come to my channel and they think I'm negative all the time. Well, a lot of it is I make videos about the things that bother me because they're more interesting to watch and it's more interesting to debate and discuss. I just, every day to put out a video about, I love this thing. I mean, that's nice, but you know, whatever, right? It doesn't move the needle and it's not very interesting if you're not also interested. But I did think at the end of this particular format of a show, we could cover what I call geeky joys. 3 geeky joys, and I'll tell you what they are, just so you know that I'm not an old Scrooge, that I love this medium and I love it more than I dislike it. And I have love for it more than I have problems with it. So here we go. 3 geeky joys of the first episode of Rearview Gaming. Number 1, you guys know, or you should know, or some of you know, that, you know, I've gotten into it the last couple weeks with some of the Metroid folks, and I still want to go round and round. I might do a Spaces tonight where I just debate these people because they're just flat out fucking wrong. And they think it's an ego thing, and it's not an ego thing. I take losses all the time. They're just wrong about what they're saying, and they won't allow themselves to listen. That said, though, it's irrelevant. I had a conversation this week with Gene Park, who's a hardcore Metroid fan, speedrunner Metroid player, and a journalist for the Washington Post. I also had a conversation on the stream with, I think his name was Cyber Zero. Both of these guys were inclined to either dislike or disagree at best and genuinely hate me at worst for my thoughts and views about Metroid, okay? And what was really obvious, because we know the internet is not real life, but it was really cool to talk to people who responded to my internet presence in one way. But talking to Gene and talking to Cyber Zero, it was just nice. It was like, yeah, we totally disagree on certain things about Metroid, but Gene got me interested in playing it again, and I'm going to play it probably tonight on the toilet. That's true. And Cyber Zero was like, okay, you know, when he heard my side through my mouth and in a conversation, and it wasn't just a bunch of angry texts from people, he was like, all right, yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense. So I absolutely appreciated, one of my geeky joys is when you actually meet a lot of gamers in real life that are just ready to fucking fight online, they turn out to be pretty nice, good folks. And I like that. Death Stranding Director's Cut is my second geeky joy of the week. I had avoided Death Stranding like the goddamn virus or whatever that kills everybody in Death Stranding. It looked so boring. And I will tell you, I would not want to be marketing on that game. I know the game did about 5 million, which is, it's good. I think they probably were hoping for more. I don't know. But nothing they did to market that game, and that's not marketing's fault. That's a hard game to market. It looked boring as fuck. I don't want to just walk around and carry packages. Why would I want to do that? The whole reason I play most video games is either to get a perspective that I'll never have in my life, but it's fascinating, or to escape real life. Well, I'll tell you, man, what a game. I know people have been saying it for a while. And you know, Rob the Mod told me, and Ricardo Estevez of the chat told me, and I was just like, you know, it's like, yeah, but it just seems so boring. And I bought the director's cut because I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I put it on a couple of days ago. And boy, I'll tell you, what an amazing game, and what a totally addictive game. Even the cutscenes where I lose my fucking mind. I like Kojima a lot, and I love Metal Gear. But even that fucking Metal Gear 4, I wanted to fucking throw a hammer at my television. Because the cutscenes just went on and on and on and on. And I was just like, shut the fuck up, you utter self-indulgent motherfucker. Go make a movie if you want to make a movie so bad. Well, I haven't gotten to the ending cutscene, which is about 2 hours. But even the long cutscenes, I have no problem with right now. Because they are genuinely good. Like, Metal Gear is so cliche and it's so riffing on movies we've seen. This feels like a really cool hard sci-fi movie or book, and it kind of almost has a feel of like a movie like Arrival, right? It's just got this. It's very interesting and different, and I don't find myself wanting to skip because I'm like, oh, it's actually a well-written cutscene. So I absolutely that's my second geeky joy of the week. My last one of the week, my number one geeky joy is a game on Xbox Game Pass called Unsighted. And I had it recommended to me on this stream, and it looked. A lot of you guys want nothing to do with it, and that's fine. Unsighted. I'm going to show you what it looks like, because it's a game that looks like this. It looks like something that would be at home on a Sega Saturn. No, a Sega Genesis. Sorry. It is super pixely. It's super 8-bit, 16-bit. Sorry. It is so good. It is a cross between Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, maybe even a little bit Link Between Worlds, because there seems to be more nonlinearity in it. Hyper Light Drifter, a little bit of Souls combat in terms of sort of it's not just hack and slash, and when you die, you leave shit behind that you have to go pick back up or you lose it forever. The storytelling is really good, and the puzzles are really good, and the mechanics are really good. And the thing I enjoy the most about it is you really can play it in a lot of unique ways. It's not one of these it's like you can modify weapons, modify your character, modify where you go in the world at any one time, and you really feel like you're living in the world. It is on Game Pass. People have talked to me about like something called Code something or World Children of Morta. I didn't like either one. I didn't hate them, but they were just forgettable. This is a top 10 game of 2021. This is a phenomenal game. And I highly recommend it. That is the third geeky joy of this week. Okay, let me get to that super chat. I'll do a little bit of free chat. I'll answer anything you want to talk about if there's anything else. But that has been Rearview Gaming for this Sunday. If you like the format, this will not replace Gabbing in Games, but this would replace the podcast, and it would be something I do on the weekends where it's a little bit more of a streamlined podcast style format. Let me know and I'll do more of them. Or if it's like, dude, this was shit, I just want you to riff, happy to do that too. Give me your feedback, man. This is a focus test. Let me get this guy's super chat real quick. This is from a guy called Some Dude 94. He says, what if a white kid saw your stream, the stream where I said all white people are inherently racist? Should you be censored for that opinion? Why would I be censored for that opinion? It's accurate. It's accurate in the sense of what it means. Here's what I'll say. There's somebody else said this the other day. It's accurate in the same way that when Dave Chappelle, and I saw his special and I enjoyed his special. I had some issues with it, of course. But when Dave Chappelle stood up on stage and he said, hey man, gender is fact. Well, he's not wrong if you look at gender via a certain definition. If you only look at gender and say gender is, were you born with a penis? Were you born with a vagina? Are you a hermaphrodite, which is you have both, or maybe in some rare case you have neither? Well, yes, if that's your definition of gender, gender is fact, 100%. But if your definition of gender is a more nuanced definition that science has come around to that says gender is all sorts of things. Gender is a social construct. It is what's between your legs sometimes. It's internal physiological, biological aspects that you can have the aspects of your brain or chemical makeup that are more feminine, but your body presents as more masculine. All of those things means gender is not a fact, right? But it depends, right? So if you're saying all white people are racist, it's not. Now, Scott McClellan says, Jaffe saying all white people are racist is like saying all Jewish people are wealthy. It's not. That is just simply a different thing, right? Saying all Jewish people are wealthy is a stereotype. right? Saying all white people are racist, the problem is people don't really want to listen, or and I get it. It's almost, the phrase is almost created to get white people riled up and thinking. And it's the and thinking part that they tend to avoid, okay, when it comes to this topic. It's not that all white people don't like black people or brown people or people of color. That's not what it means when people say all white people are racist. What it means, and you don't have to agree with it, but make sure you're not agreeing with the right thing. I am not suggesting that all white people don't like people of color. It's nothing to do with that. And really the comment was, I amended it to say all American white people are racist. What it actually means, and what it's supposed to mean, is that you can't be a white person in America regardless of your circumstance. You could be poor as fuck, the system could have shit on you, the cops could hate you, you could be addicted to, Oxycontin and all kinds of shit. It doesn't mean that you have an amazing life and so shut the fuck up. It means that even with all of those things, if you are a black person or a brown person in America, your situation would be worse because there is inherent racism built into certain systems of life in America. The prison system, the justice system, the hiring for certain businesses. It doesn't mean people are bad. It doesn't mean white people are bad. It simply means... Right, exactly. Doug is right. All white people are racist is almost like defund the police. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Right. I understand Eternal says people are going to take it at face value. I know, but that's the whole point. Is it's meant to shock someone into going, what the fuck did you say to me? And then hopefully they will be open enough to go, oh, okay. Maybe I agree with you, Jaffe. Maybe I don't. But that said, I at least understand what you're saying. And I think it's a much easier argument to make that all white people in America benefit from systemic racism. Even doesn't mean their lives are great, but there are things I don't have to worry about because I present as white, whereas a black friend of mine who presents as black is going to have to worry about. That's different than going, white people don't like black people. Some of them don't, but that's not what the phrase says. Jaffe, why did you make 2012 TM Platinum Trophy so hard? Oh, man, I don't. Because I didn't know anything about... I wasn't a trophy chaser. None of us on that team, for the most part, were trophy chasers. What we tried to do with the trophies in Twisted Metal and all the games we've done is the trophies exist to get you to experience aspects of the game that we feel, and we're not always right, of course, when you experience them, you'll enjoy the game more. So I think with Twisted, it was more about going, play this game online or whatever, because that's how it's meant to be played, blah, blah, blah. So they weren't meant to be so hard. We did try to ease up, not that many people played it with Drawn to Death, but, so Fair Monkey says black people, Hispanic or Asian, way more successful than me. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with what I'm saying, though. One moment. I haven't seen Dune yet. I want to see Dune. But yeah, Fair Monkey, black people, Asian people more successful than you. That's not the point. The point is, let's put it this way. You could be the least successful white guy you know driving a beat up car as long as it meets the road standards. And you could be driving next to a really nice car with a black dude in it in a certain part of the country or certain parts of the country. And the chances of you getting pulled over if you're not breaking the law are a lot lower than the black dude in the nice car getting pulled over. It doesn't mean everywhere in the country. It doesn't mean all cops are racist. It doesn't even mean all cops are bad, other than the fact that they enable the bad cops, and that behavior is bad when they do that. It just means that you have the benefit of being white in America and these other people don't. That does not mean that you can't also have a shitty life, which has nothing to do with your skin color. That's all it means. Unlocking Warthog and Twisted Metal is stupid hard. What the fuck? I don't know, man. It's been a long time. I'm telling you, I don't... there's a lot about that particular game that I hold near and dear and think is wonderful, but I would not go to war to defend the quality of trophy design in that game, because, if I was still making games, I would hand that off to a designer on the team that did that shit, because I don't know how to do it. Heretic, it's Jaffe. What's up, man? How are you?
Going all right. How about you?
Very good. What do you want to talk about?
All right. So since we're on the Twisted Metal thing, and we're going over the Grand Theft Auto and the content changes, if they were to remaster, say like Twisted Metal 1 through 4, in the same way that they did the Tony Hawk thing that they did recently with 1 and 2, how would you want them to alter the soundtrack, and what would you want them to fight to keep on it?
I mean, okay, well, let's be clear. They will never do that, and they shouldn't do that. But that said,
sure they won't.
but that said, though, I mean, I would want them obviously to keep all the original songs, because there's a lot of songs, especially from Twisted Metal 2, that, like Quake Zone Rumble and stuff that I see people continuously covering online with like various instruments. So I would want to keep all those. In terms of the licensed music, even though I didn't work on 4 and I don't really have any connection with 4, although I may be bringing on one of the lead programmers of 4 to talk about it soon, but I guess the Rob Zombie song is really, for a generation of gamers, is really cemented to that game, so I would want to keep that if we could get it. Paint It Black, I would probably want to keep if we could. I don't know. I know that the deal with the Rolling Stones was like $100,000 up front, and then every time we sold a copy of Twisted Metal, there was a guaranteed, even if we weren't in profit, there was a guaranteed percentage. It may have been actually $1 or a percentage. I don't remember. But I don't know if a remaster counts as the same or if they would have to renegotiate that. But I would want to keep Paint It Black. And then all of the music in 2012 is irrelevant. I mean, it was just like Scott and I we just went through our libraries and we're like, this sounds good. And the team gave their feedback and we gave it to Sony Music. And depending on what we could afford, they came back and said, you can't afford, for example, this AC/DC song you want, but you can't afford a band that sounds a lot like them with a song called Raise the Flag. And that, so whatever changes they made to the 2012 soundtrack, it really, because it was a multiplayer centric game, it wasn't really embedded in the fabric of the narrative, and it really wouldn't matter to me as much on that one. So that would be my answer.
That makes a lot of sense.
Indeed.
All right, last question about that.
Yep.
What was your favorite song for each game?
Well, my favorite song for 1 was Rooftops. Mike Guillaume, who was the Sony designer of Warhawk and Jetmoto and The Con, and I were obsessed with the movie Speed, and we were obsessed with the soundtrack to Speed, which is still one of the greatest action soundtracks ever made. And we gave that to, I want to say they were called, I don't think it was Big Machine, but it was something like that. And we said we would like music like this. And Mike's game, because it was such a cinematic game, he got the lion's share of that kind of music. And we got more of the rock and roll and guitars and all that, which made more sense. But one song they did for Rooftops, even though it doesn't fit the rest of the soundtrack, is just one of the best pieces of video game music I've ever heard. So I would keep Rooftops. From 1, that's my favorite. 2 is probably Quake Zone Rumble. I didn't really play 3 enough to know. I barely played 4, but I played it enough to know that I like that Rob Zombie song. And in 5, I still have an affinity for Raise the Flag because it sounds so much like AC/DC. All right, there you go, Heretic. I appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you, sir. Talk to you later. All right, fellas, I am going to head out because... the family is going to get together tonight. We're watching that Hulu show Only Murders in the Building, which is great. And then we're also, my youngest, my son and I are watching, we're going to start watching Chucky, which I hear is really good. And then later tonight I want to watch that HBO documentary about the insurgency at the Capitol called 4 Hours at the Capitol, I think it's called. So I'm going to be in front of the TV most of the night, but I hope you're well. I do hope you enjoyed the format. I'll go back through the chat and see if people want this format on a weekly basis. And then obviously we'll be doing the normal Gavin and Games and game streams throughout the week. And I will put this up on the podcast sometime tonight. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. And I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Spazbo, I'll bring you in a second just offline to see what's